What is up, Internet Basketball Junkies? Coach Hack here. I'm with Coach Troy Bond. Coach Bond built winning programs at Wilson Central, Oakland, and Brentwood while becoming one of only 5 Tennessee coaches to take 3 different schools to the state tournament. Today, we discuss building programs from scratch, developing toughness, building a championship zone defense, 7 trips to the glass house, the mentors who shaped Coach Bond's career, adapting to different schools, and the lessons learned in a lifetime of coaching. Coach Bond, thanks so much for joining the Basketball Legacy Project here.
I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Well, tell me what's new with Zone Hoops 615, Coach.
Well, we're in the dead period here in Tennessee right now. So usually what I do is the first few weeks of June, I'm involved, kind of going, and then I want to enjoy my summer. I still teach high school at Brentwood High, so really love having the opportunity in the summer. So they're in the dead period for 2 weeks from an athletic standpoint for high schools. So just kind of hanging out, enjoying the fourth 250th coming up, and we'll just kind of take a few trips, kind of get ready for school, and then kind of jump back in it in the fall.
Well, I bet they got some good music festivals going on there for the 4th in Tennessee.
The fireworks show in Nashville is like maybe the top in the world. It's nuts. They'll have 200,000 or 300,000 people downtown on Broadway watching it, and they televise it live as well. I mean, it's a huge event, that and New Year's Eve in Nashville. Nashville is kind of the it city, right, for a lot of people to go. So a lot going on. We generally kind of stay away from that scenario. We'll probably go to a friend's house, have a cookout, and kind of enjoy ourselves, and then head back to the house, probably watch on television.
Well, Coach, I've had you on the show before. We kind of did a general show where we talked a little bit more about zone defense. And I wanted to have you back to do a dedicated show about your coaching career. So this is a Basketball Legacy Project show where I really want to unpack your coaching career, talk about some of the program building tactics, and also get some of your knowledge of this zone defense. I'm excited to learn a little bit about that. So, Coach, wanted to dive into your coaching career for the audience members who might be meeting you for the first time. Can you kind of give us a 30,000-foot view of your coaching journey, kind of just walk us through the stops that shaped your career and how maybe each opportunity led to the next one?
Well, let's start with my stepdad, Randy Venata, that was a basketball coach, coached girls basketball at Lebanon High School. So just having him every day at the house and kind of hearing all the different lingo and kind of getting involved, and I just kind of fell in love with basketball. And then my high school coach, Hester Gibbs, kind of jumped into the scenario once I got to high school. Campbell Brandon, another girls coach. Both those guys are in the TSSAA Hall of Fame, which is a rare air to be in. Then I went after there and went to Columbia State Community College. I was a guy that was kind of undersized in high school, and so had to kind of prove my worth against better talent. So went to Columbia State. I had Lewis Connor, which was a great human for me in the sense of he really taught me how to understand defense better. And then I left there. I got a scholarship at Tennessee State University where I played for Ron Abernathy and then Frankie Allen. So those guys kind of getting in the door. And then once I got into coaching, I coached at Columbia State for Coach Connor for a year, was an assistant coach there. Then I went back to my alma mater, Lebanon High School, and worked under Randall Hutto, which is the current county mayor for Wilson County, which is a huge position, been that position a long time. But he really taught me a lot about organization. I was there with him for 8 years. We had 3 state tournament teams in that time frame and another sub-state Sweet 16 team. Then I got the opportunity to become the head coach at Wilson Central High School in Lebanon. brand new school, first new school been built in probably 50 years. We were going to be pulling primarily from Mount Juliet, a little bit from Lebanon. I was going into a brand new program. We're talking about starting completely from scratch. Less than 100 kids in the senior class. So you didn't have a lot of upperclassmen to pull from. Kids that were juniors and seniors could stay where they were. So you had a lot of good players that would have been zoned for us, but ended up staying other places. And we're getting kids primarily from Mount Juliet, which had never been to a state tournament for boys basketball at that particular time. I think now Troy Allen's kind of ironic, had taken them to 3 there after he had came into the fold. But so took over a program, taking kids that really had not understood what a state tournament was, had a couple of kids from Lebanon that came with me, and we wanted to build that program, and ended up staying there 14 years, had 4 state tournament teams, had 5 sub-state Sweet 16 teams in that run. And then I got the opportunity to go to Oakland High School in Murfreesboro, which was a guy that I really looked up to, Randy King, another TSSAA Hall of Famer, had been at the reins of that program for a long time and had done extremely well. I think 5 state tournaments. He had retired. Another guy came in, did okay, not bad, but really had not reached that status again. Randy King had reached out to me, and Bill Spurlock, which is the principal, and wanted to know if I wanted to get on board to kind of bring that back. And fast forward, was there 6 years, had 2 state tournament teams there. Then I had moved to Brentwood, which was about a 50-minute drive from Murfreesboro, and where Oakland was. And Kevin Kydell had called me, offered me a position there as head basketball coach that had just opened. The guy that was in front, Greg Shirley, had done a great job there, had retired. And then kind of ironic twist there was Dennis King, another guy that I really looked up to as a basketball coach and was friends with, had taken Brentwood to 3 state tournaments, and he was a friend of mine. He had retired before Greg got there. So it was like a perfect storm scenario, a job that, I just could not turn down. And then coached there for 3 years, took 1 team to state tournament, still teach there today. Great place, incredible school. Again, incredible teachers and students and staff and administration there. And then after that, I started Zone Hoop 615, where I go in and mentor coaches, in particular, especially defense in a sense, but work on all stages of the game. And then started my own podcast as well about 3 months ago, Beyond the Buzzer. That's been really cool, talking to a lot of great coaches and players, where I come in and kind of get a lot of great stories that people love to hear. So been busy, had a great career, been blessed with great staff, great places to work, and just outstanding kids and parents.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed getting into your YouTube channel and the content that you've created. What's interesting to me with the different stops that you've had in your coaching career, they're all kind of unique. They all kind of had their own challenges to them. But you took 3 different teams to the state tournament. Talk to me specifically about what each of those programs kind of taught you to prepare for the next one.
Well, going into Wilson Central was such a brand new concept. Something that was kind of ironic stop in my career. But while I was at Lebanon High School, I started the girls and boys soccer program. I was into soccer. Soccer uses a lot of zone alignments. There's a lot of teamwork, a lot of passing, a lot of communication. Lebanon had not had a soccer program yet. And so I went to the principal, Steve Malone, and talked to him about starting the program. I thought for me, as an assistant coach, this would be a great means to kind of understand the economic side of starting a program, what all went into creating a program from scratch. Soccer, not near as much cost, but still a lot of implementation of planning and organization. So I thought that would be a great tool to kind of get my feet wet, jumping in, and it really was. So then we go to, I get the opportunity to go to Wilson Central, and we go in, and I mean it's a mess in some ways, just for the fact that we go in and the floor was angled wrong. They had to come in and repaint the floor. It was behind the backboard. I mean, it's just kind of a crazy thing. But going in, I kind of took some of that I'd had with soccer. I talked to a lot of mentors of mine. Randall Hutto, again, was great, that I'd worked for at Lebanon. My stepdad, Randy Venata, was great. Coach Gibbs at Lebanon was always amazing. He was a guy that taught a ton of toughness. And I really wanted to come in and put my DNA on my program. And so I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to take some time. We were blessed our first year to actually go 500, which was really anomaly compared to new programs, especially playing at the top level in Tennessee. But we had some kids buy in. We worked on the weight room, we worked on conditioning, we worked on a team concept that, hey, we're going to be as good as the 5 guys on the floor that we have. And every guy in this program, from freshman to JV to varsity, is going to have an impact on us. Whether it's the guys in practice every day, pushing my guys that are going to play, putting your eye on the prize of wanting to be on the floor. I played a lot of guys because we did a lot of trapping, a lot of press. And so that gave a lot of opportunity. I think when you add more opportunity for people to get on the floor as opposed to playing 6 or 7 guys, guys kind of get hyped up in a sense of, hey, I maybe can earn some minutes, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. So really just kind of pushed that, really leaned on my assistant coaches as well. Troy Crane, that was with me for 22 years, current coach at Brentwood High. He went after me, just had a state tournament team there at Brentwood High in his second season. Was extremely valuable to have as well, and had some other guys, David Jennings, Zach Martin, that played a big part to pull from. So I had a great DNA backing. Campbell Brandon was another that I could go to and get a lot of advice. And as a head coach, I always think you got to be you. And I think that's probably the biggest problem with young coaches sometimes. It's kind of like offense of the week or defense of the week sometimes. Dig in, find your DNA. What is you? Work on it, believe in it, push it every day. And so you build a culture, you build a mentality. And I felt like we did that. And I've always carried a kind of a saying with every program. So when we started Wilson Central, we started with work to win, that we knew that was going to have to take a lot of time, a lot of involvement. Again, a lot in the weight room. We want to be a physical team. And they kind of bought in. And so when we started that was just, there was a lot of tough times, a lot of good times. Was blessed to, by third year, was able to get to the state tournament. Again, we're taking kids that came mostly from a program that never had been before, and we in that time frame ended up going to 4. And so we established a mentality, and that was something I thought every time we walked on the floor, regardless who we were playing, they saw Wilson Central in the jersey and they knew they was in for a battle. Either way, whether it was, worked in our favor or not, but we really pushed our kids to buy into that team mentality, that toughness when we started the program.
Yeah, you mentioned Coach Gibbs helped teach you toughness, and that was one of the things that really stood out to me in preparation for this show. Not necessarily your win total of your career, but that how you had to kind of intentionally build this culture of toughness at multiple stops. So I kind of want to pivot into a conversation about building toughness, building it at a variety of different schools and types of schools. And, you started at Wilson Central. The program was starting from scratch. There's no tradition. There's no history. There's barely a senior class. When you walked into that situation, Did you know when you were walking in that you really had to, build a culture of toughness, or is that something that you did just to survive trying to build a program that didn't have any past to it?
Well, I think it was tied to me. I played that way. I was a very physical player myself. And I always feel like your teams very often take on your personality. And I think good programs, I think that coach's personality is all over that program. Uh, and that kind of ignites the kids and ignites your program. When we went to Oakland, we're kind of doing a flip. We're going into a program that had a huge history, a program that had 3 state tournaments with Dickie Thomas, and then Randy King, which his assistant took over and took 5 state tournaments. So you're looking at a program that has a ton of history to it, in a school that didn't start, I think, till 1978. So it wasn't like it was a school that had been there 50 years at the time. And we go in, and and the culture was a little strained probably when we got there. And so we go in and really try to build off of that. It was kind of a total different scenario. Wilson Central, we had some good athletes, some great athletes in some cases, but more of a cerebral type player. Then we go to Oakland, and you've got the ability to pull from some outstanding athletes, maybe not as great of a basketball player. And we just kind of built the program again from a toughness standpoint, which a lot of those kids already have, based from just home life situations in some cases. And so it was taking a different type of kid and kind of molding it and making it turn into success. And then fast forward to Brentwood, coming to Brentwood, that had some great success, and the success that they had state tournament wise was 5 of them, 3 with Dennis King and 2 with Greg Shirley, and they were kind of on the front end of that success there. So a lot of expectations, a lot of kids again that was very cerebral type players, a lot similar to Wilson Central, and so we had to kind of go in and kind of mold into what we were wanting to do. They were more of a complete man-to-man, or like a traditional kind of 2-3 kind of deal. Again, they had great success, great job coaching there, played a little slower. So we wanted to come in and play a little faster. We wanted to trap more and wanted to press more. So you're always kind of, I think, adapting as a coach. I think you bring your style and you bring your DNA to what you're wanting to do, but you also got to look at what do you have to work with, and how are you going to be able to maximize your talent, maximize your team, in which at the end of the day, we want to win, right? It's about wins. We've always built programs, and my mentality has always been, and it's kind of crazy for some people, but I'm not looking to win district titles or region titles. I'm looking to get to the glass house. At the end of the day, if I lose some games early, because it's going to prepare me for either playing a certain number of guys or getting guys ready mentally to make that run in February and March, I'm okay with it, because that's where I want to be good. And I always felt like my programs always excelled in postseason. So I felt like it was kind of like a marathon mentality of, we want to build this day by day, put our stamp on it, and have our kids buy in. And then by the time tournament season comes around, we can make a push and really make some noise and try to get that glass house.
Yeah, you talked about Coach Gibbs teaching you about toughness. You talked about that being kind of the way that you are, and you're going to implement that into your programs. Physical toughness and mental toughness, 2 different things. Talk to me a little bit about building mental toughness and what that might look like in one of your programs on a daily basis.
Well, I think for one, a great mental preparation is through conditioning and through the weight room. And Coach Gibbs used to do this with us a lot, with just making us push ourselves a little harder than what we think we can. And again, from weight room to track to running scenarios. I really incorporated a lot of things from heavy trainers to sandbags to sand pits. At Wilson Central, we had a 4-tiered parking lot that we called the Trail of Tears, that started at the bottom and went up 4 levels. And so you're getting that incline scenario, and then they'd have to come back down and do some different things, sometimes carrying heavy trainers. There was all kind of different things. So I always looked to kind of push the buttons a little bit during the conditioning. I always felt like you could establish a mentality that, hey, we can overcome adversity. And so when we would get to the fourth quarter during the season, you always felt like our guys, mentally and physically, just due to what we kind of put them through, was able to push through in scenarios when they were tired. And there's many a times that I've called timeout to just bring my guys over and say, hey, look, they've got their hands on their knees, they're breathing out their mouth. You just got to put your foot on the throat, and you just got to finish this out. And our guys will get pumped with that scenario. And so we always establish that mentality. And I think good programs do. They establish it's not just a physical toughness like you talked about. It's a mental preparation. Coach Gibbs was a master at this. I go to college my first year at Columbia State, and we're doing conditioning, and all the guys there are about to fall out, and I'm just kind of like, okay. And the coach had said, the assistant coach had made a comment and says, well, I guess none of you guys have ever ran this hard before. And I kind of snickered, which not great, right? I was pretty confident as a player. And he said, well, what's so funny? And I said, well, I don't think this is very hard. And it made the comment, and all of a sudden my head coach come in and says, he don't count. He played for Hester Gibbs. He's like Bobby Knight. Says he don't count. He's an anomaly here. So I felt like, that was always kind of pushed on me when I got into basketball. And then again, I think my personality kind of got pushed on my teams, and they kind of established that.
Yeah, we think about mental toughness. Oftentimes I'm thinking about players who, when things go poorly, they're able to respond to those things in a positive way instead of kind of melting down to the pressure. My college coach had us do a preseason ladder conditioning test each year, which you'd kind of dread when you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But you also knew that once you finished it, once you got all your times, one, you didn't have to do it anymore. And two, you were in peak physical condition to be able to
100%.
hit all your times. And that was something that I modified with my teams, where I would have us do the same kind of thing on a little smaller court with different times. But we'd put our kids through that in the fall. And I really loved the idea of the kids rallying around each other, where if certain kids were going to make it, they could decide to go sit on the side and rest, or they could, be active and engaged in trying to pull together some people that were struggling a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, I love that idea of the conditioning as kind of the cornerstone of building mental toughness. Have you done any of these conditioning tests, or would more of your conditioning be?
Yeah, we actually did. We used to have at Wilson Central, it was called a Wildcat test. They were flipping sandbags, tires, running, had to do so many pull-ups, it was kind of a crazy thing. Kind of had a kind of a tie to CrossFit a little bit to it. Then we went to Oakland and created a Patriot test. And then at Brentwood, it was a Bruin test, and it would always kind of split up in different scenarios. And you kind of, as time goes by, you kind of learn different things. You take like Brentwood, for example, highly noted for its cross country and track programs, numerous state tournaments and state championships with their program there. So those kids were used to running, and again, a little bit different type of kid. And so we really pushed the weight room, which was something they hadn't done near to the extent that we came in with. So that was kind of our angle there, and the ability again to kind of test our guys mentally and physically. And you hit it around the head when you talked about the team bonding scenario. of guys getting behind each other and helping the guy that's not a great runner be able to make the time, or the guy that's not real strong coming in that starts out lifting the bar on bench and all of a sudden he gets a 160 max on flat bench. Those are great enduring spots that kind of establish guys. It's also things where guys don't make time. They're kind of, let's say, loafing, and all of a sudden you're running all your team as opposed to the guys that just miss the time. All of a sudden the heat's on and the pressure's on. And so you create that dynamic. And then when they make the time, all of a sudden everybody's like, again, it creates this dynamic, the clapping and the unity. So you're head on that one.
Yeah, we've talked about building toughness in different programs, and I wanted to keep building with you, but I wanted to pivot into building a defense. You're noted for how you teach your zone defenses, and I wanted to pull up a fast draw here and let you go to work on teaching me how to build a 3-2 zone defense. Is the 3-2 defense your specialty, Coach?
Yeah, it's probably what I'm noted for the most. Zones in general, everybody that's kind of my deal. But yeah, I'd love to do this. This would be great. And what I'll do is I'll let you put them in the spots, and then I'm going to go through what I would look for in those particular spots. Okay.
I'll try to guide you through this the best that I can. So let's start with here, and let's just fill this out with information as we go. Why zone? Most coaches are man-to-man coaches. I would say the majority of basketball coaches. So let's start with zone first and foremost. Why zone?
Well, I think you hit it perfect. You take most of the coaches across the U.S., probably 80-90% of their offensive work is geared towards man. And the reason is that most of those guys play man, right? So when you were going to catch one of my teams, you're going to be seeing a whole different dimension and look than what you normally would see. Also, you're going to be pulling probably from 15 to 20% of your offensive playbook to be able to beat what I'm going to throw at you, as opposed where if I'm playing man, you're pulling from 80%. So you've got a lot more options, I felt like, against the man than you do the zone. And that's just because, again, kind of what people have grown to know and what maybe their mentor or their high school coach or college coach taught them. So I feel like that's an advantage, especially postseason. Because when you get to postseason, you're going to be in some situations where you just got to win one game, right, to advance. And I think that's where I kind of established it. Coach Gibbs ran a great 1-3-1. Coach Hutto came in and took a 1-2-1-1 press and 1-3-1 some. We'd go like man on misses and zone and press on makes. And then I got to Wilson Central, and I kind of adapted and created my own version of the 1-3-1 and the 1-2-1-1, but also added a 1-2-2 trap and a 3-2 zone to that has all different kind of scenarios. So,
okay, so let's get into the alignment. Tell me where to put everybody.
Okay, so I'm going to put. We'll just kind of start, and this is really going to be based on personnel. Let's put one right below the key, about free throw line area, and then we can put 2 and 3 free throw line extended on the wings.
Is that too far out, Coach?
No, that's fine. And I'll explain how we'll do it. Then 4 and 5 block area on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let me kind of explain this, how we teach it. Again, it's not traditional zone. So what I'm looking for is your person that's playing at the top in that one spot, okay, needs to be a person that has a great IQ. They have to have great anticipation. They've got to be physical, and they've got to have good hands and feet. So that person is going to be your anchor, and that person is going to really kind of dictate a lot of your play. if you can have a person there that's long and athletic, great. Is it a must? No, but that's where the physicality comes in. You got to have somebody that can really get involved and be physical there. So your wings are going to be athletic guys, good anticipators as well. And one thing that the 1, 2, and 3 here are going to share is these 3 guys need to be guys that can handle the basketball and can score in transition. Because here's the thing, out of the 3-2, you can align your break so well. 2 and 3 running wings to corners. 1, if it's a point guard, can be side to side to receive the ball, however you want to do it. The thing that I like out of this is by all 3 being able to handle and all 3 being able to transition, either or can bring the ball up. So let's say all of a sudden, if 2 got the rebound, 1 would become 2's lane. If 3 got the rebound, 1 would become 3's lane. So they're all interchangeable in transition part. Okay, so as we're building the defense, we're also building our transition scenario and options.
Yeah.
2.
Go ahead, Coach.
So the 2 side wing on the left needs to be the better rebounder of the 2 wings. Reason being, it's probably 85–90% of teams across the country are right-handed. They're probably going to try to score right-hand side more predominantly than left. So you're going to get a lot more shots generally taken right side of the floor. So with that being said, what happens? Rebound usually is going to kick opposite side, right? So I always want my best rebounder on that left side. Also, bottom 2 guys, which generally most people think is a post guy. It does not necessarily have to be a post guy. I played my point guard in that bottom spot in a position where I had such good length at the top that could create problems. Same thing on the bottom. Your 4 there, X4, is going to be your better rebounder. Again, why? Because left side of the floor.
Yeah, I would not have thought about asking you about how this ties into a transition offense philosophy, and I would not have thought about how you position your players to more effective rebound out of the zone. I would just think 2 and 3 are interchangeable. So thinking about this defense, which position really drives the defense? Would it be this X1 spot, Coach?
It's 1. Absolutely 1, because 1 is going to be the key communicator. 1's going to have to make a lot of scenarios and decisions. 4 and 5 are going to have to be great communicators because they're going to see everything in front. And so we're going to have a lot of terminology, a lot of rules that are going to be in play that all 5 guys are going to need to know. All 5 guys are going to understand. Going back to the wing scenario, we can play this either more of a control penetration, or we can do it more from a pressure perspective. Either way, those wings are going to guard the ball, what we call half man inside. So they're going to guard man type defensive pressure on the ball, and they're going to play to the half man inside. So when I say that, they're going to split the guy there in half, and they're going to protect middle. We're always protecting middle. We're always in a position to where we want to keep them on one side of the floor. It's easier to guard one side of the floor. You also get 2 more defenders with your baseline and your sideline. So it's all put in perspective in the sense, try to keep it on that side. We're real active with our hands. We're going to have what's called a high hand up on shooter's hand. So if it's a right-handed player, we're going to have our left-handed hand up. If it's a left-handed player, we'd have our right hand up. and we're working the ball from underneath with the other hand. So we're going to play man-type pressure on the ball as opposed to traditional zone, stand there, hands up, kind of in position. We're going to be more involved on the ball.
So, Coach, I'm interested in what is the most common alignment that you see from teams? If you're in a 3-2 zone, or is this a 2-guard front that teams show you the most?
Well,
and once we settle on that, then we'll start moving the ball around a little bit and try to talk about the slides of the defense.
Yeah. So generally, people are going to look for very often a 2-1-2 look, or they're going to overlook. Okay. And so with this, we're always in a position of making decisions based on what they do. Okay. So if you put, and I'll show you a couple of different ways of how we guard. It really depends on their personnel, how this will work.
You there, Coach?
Yeah. I'm just waiting. You're going to put the 3. You got your 3 still left.
Yeah, I got 3 in the corner. We're building a 2-1-2 alignment.
Yeah.
And let's talk initially kind of how would we morph to this alignment here? Who's going to
to
the high post?
Yeah.
X1,
so X2 is going to be guarding the ball. So we divide the floor in half. So we divide the floor based on the midline. Okay. So you imagine that imaginary line going down the middle of the floor. So we're going to divide. So X2 is going to be guarding the 1 half man inside. 1 is going to be setting on the high post, complete front, not going to be cupping him to the side. He's going to be sitting down, literally sitting down with his butt on that guy's thighs. He wants to create a problem. 4, ball side, is going to play dependent upon what 3 is. If 3 is a really good shooter, 4 will be short corner. Okay. If 3 is a driver, then 4 is going to play more block area. All right. So 5 will be now rim protector. He'll be under the goal.
All the way on the midline?
Yeah, he'll be midline. Then 2 is going to drop, or 3 for us is going to drop to a split between 5 and 4. Right there.
Well, we're not looking much like a 3-2 zone anymore, Coach.
Yeah, it's gonna work to what you do. So now, depending upon what happens, we're dominant on this side of the floor. So usually what happens in this scenario is what? 1 passes to 3.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, and then what is 5 going to do? 5 is going to probably what? Dive to the block, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'll show you how this is. So 4 is going to come out. Again, going to be half man inside, forcing baseline. We're not bullfighting. We're not olaying and letting them go. We're just forcing. We're highlighting the middle. Okay. So 5 for us was in goalie position. So 5 is going to catch their 5 going down and is going to be in a front position.
So we've got 5 diving to the block here.
Yep.
X5 is going to come all the way over for a full front.
Yep. So now in the bottom, they've got 3 guys on the bottom. So our 3 will drop and match their 3s. So they got 3, we got 3. He can help on backside lob. Yep. 1 is going to go backside, kind of split, bring him up about free throw line. And he's going to play the skip. So see that he'll be more midline area. About right there. Perfect. So rules of thought here always is this. When the ball moves, everybody moves. It doesn't matter you're not traditional zone. You're not staying in a spot. You're going to move. You always match to their alignment. You always see ball and you always see man in your area. So, for example, 2 now is going to be in what I call a pistol position, seeing ball and man. He's going to be in the line of sight. So he's going to be a step up, not in deny, but he's going to be a step up towards the ball, towards the 1. So he's going to make 1 have to step out deep to be able to catch that basketball.
Yeah.
And by not being in deny, he can't get beat back door. So you got X4 putting pressure on, making them go baseline. You have X5 in a front that could come over if he needs to. Because here's the thing, Matt, throwing that lob from the corner to the 5-man is extremely hard because you got the goal and you got the rim. That pass has got to be really, really good. And that's a very hard pass to throw. Plus, we're putting pressure on the ball, okay? So 1 for us is in a position, what does a lot of teams like to do? They like to skip it. So he can play the skip, and a lot of times you get a ton of steals right there where they try to throw out of that corner. And then you've got 3 for us that is in a backside. So they have went to a 2-3 alignment, trying to get 3 guys against our 2 at the bottom. But what did we do? We matched the 3 to 3.
Yeah, I like this where we're going to allow that pass out of that corner, but we're going to force it into a non-scoring area. So if they're going to step out to 30 feet or whatever, yeah, they can swing the ball around, but we're not letting them toe the line and pass the ball around where they can get catches.
100%.
Let's play the next progression here. 3. Let's play this skip pass coming out of the corner. So if we're going to throw it, I would think the most natural skip pass would probably be this opposite pass. And let's talk about how the defense is going to shift on the skip pass.
Okay, so on the skip, let's say if 1, they throw 2 is deep, and so they throw that across, no problem. 1 now is going to guard 2. And so if that is a quick skip, 3 immediately is going to jump line of sight on 4. So there is not a quick reversal. Because what do most teams tell their guy? Throw the skip and make 1 more, right, to the corner. We're going to jump wide and not let you throw a quick pass to the corner. You may lob it, but if you lob it, no big deal. So he's going to do that. 5 will become goalie again. And as 1 comes out from that mid position to guard 2, he's going to be in what we call a hands up scenario. So his hands are going to be up. That way the guy can't catch it and throw it quick to the flash right there. Okay? Now, so most teams in this alignment will let the 5 come back to the high post. Now, 2 different ways you can handle this. So bring their 5 to the high post. So if 2 has got the ball now, one's guarding there. So you can do 2 ways. I like doing this probably more overall. I just let my 5 go with his 5. So now we're matched every spot. 4 would go more about the block. If the ball ever hits the corner, 3's guarding the corner. And again, we're right back in the same scenario as we were before. The only difference is going to be 5 is already matched with 5. So he would just beat him. He would always be to the inside towards the goal in that position. That way he can beat him to the block to be able to get that front. Usually if it gets to this point, they're looking for reversal. And if they don't get the reversal, generally they'll go to something else. So
Yeah,
So
Coach,
in this,
you'd mentioned kind of baiting some of those skip passes for steals where you've got your backside
for
kind of
sure,
playing and anticipating, flying around a little bit.
for
Um,
sure.
Looking to work trapping into this naturally, or is that more of an adjustment out of this defense?
Well, a lot of it will be based on we'll have calls, what we call, if we're playing what we call 30, which is our 3-2, we would have a live call. And live means if a certain guy gets it in the corner, it's an automatic trap. And what generally you do with that is you catch a guy that's not, let's say, a great passer or a guy that's not a great decision maker, and you put him under duress. And really, you can also use it as a mirage a little bit, is because if the opposing coach thinks you're going to trap the corner, he may not even throw it to the corner anymore. So you've taken the corner option completely out of the scenario. So now his playbook that was 20%, now you take the corner option out that he's got in there, and now he's down to 15% options.
Yeah, so Coach, let's talk about teaching progression. If you were to put in a defense like this, let's talk about what does day one look like? What does week one look like? What might be your first drill? Let's start with maybe the first drill to teach this.
Well, I'm big on the 5 guys at one time. And the reason why I like teaching at 5 guys is because all 5 are going to have to communicate and all 5 are going to have to move. So you got to think, the big rule that's always taught very beginning and talked about all the time is there's 3 ways that's going to make you move, okay? You're always, regardless if you're involved on the ball or not, you're going to move on 3 different ways. That is pass, dribble, or cut. So with that being said, anybody cutting from your area, regardless if it's ball side or not, we are bumping. Here comes that weight room scenario into play, the toughness into play. We're going to bump you, regardless if you're looking to get the ball or not. If you're just going from corner to corner, we're going to bump you, okay? So off a dribble, the ball is going to move. So we always are all going to move based on the dribble. So if the dribble starts moving with the dribble, we're going to have 5 guys moving with that ball. If the ball moves with a pass, we're going to have 5 guys moving with it. So what I like to do in this is I'll put my JV team out there. I'll put 5 guys. I'll work on different pass scenarios. So I'll literally start on one side of the floor, go through a scenario, say like 2-1-2 look. I'll go through what ball side is going to look like, what weak side is going to look like. Then I'll switch sides of the floor, have them strong side, weak side, and go through it. Then I'll play it live a few times and kind of stop and say, okay, you're not bumping the cutter enough. You're not doing this enough. We need more pressure on the ball here. We need more line of sight here. So I talk about my terminologies. I talk about my cadence on the floor. What type of level should we be talking? Talk about active hands, active feet. We want to be able to make plays. We want to be able to break on that skill. We want to be able to transition and go. So once I kind of go through an alignment and show it, what I'll do is I'll play it live. And this is where I think, guys, this is a great thing to use in your practices, guys, whether you're middle school, high school, college, whatever, is we're going to play it live. And on a board or a steal, we're going to transition out. So we're going to work on our transition out of that defensive scenario. Now, once we transition, if we make a turnover or we shoot it, they get a rebound, it's dead. We go back on defense. We play the possession again. So we're always working on our transition movement, where our wings should be, So another example. So my 4 and 5 are going to be interchangeable as well. Whichever 4 or 5 gets a rebound will always be trail in transition. Who does not get the rebound will be rim running. So it's always interactive. If a wing or my top guy gets a rebound, we will have one of the 4 or the 5, whichever one that is, designated as a rim runner and the other as a trail. But if they're involved in the rebound, it's going to be interchangeable.
So we're learning the defense with this whole method. We're really early on with our first drills, our first week. We're establishing just how we react to different passes, different dribbles,
Sure.
different cuts. We're incorporating our transition offense into these early reps. Let's talk about the natural next progression from here after we learn the basics. When do we start kind of tweaking the offense or the defense, starting to add more options or ways to play it? How far along into the install would stuff like that come?
So generally with us, what we would do, because again, I'm playing multiple zones. This is our bread and butter per se, but I'm going to spend time on this back-to-back days, doing the exact same thing, 2 days in a row. Then the third day and fourth day, I'm going to teach one of my other zones. In my other zones, the same rules are going to apply, okay? The cut scenario, the dribble, the pass, the communication, that's all going to apply. Then I come back on that Friday, and it's just like a test on Friday. I'm going to do segments for the different zones, and we're going to go through the different scenarios. I'm going to kind of test them on what should they do. Then each week I add a little bit different progression. So I may go to show an overload set. I may go to a 5-out set where I'm showing how would they guard this, how would they put them in a spot. Generally, how I love to teach it is once they kind of get the fundamentals and the rules, I will put guys on the floor and ask them, okay, how are you going to guard this out of our zone? And you'll have some guys that'll go, well, coach, I think I would do this, and sometimes they're spot on, and you're like, this is awesome. Sometimes they're a little not so sure. So we kind of teach them to make decisions as the game is live. I can do so much coaching in the sense of I can help them with scenarios, and I can call the defense, right? But during a actual possession, they're going to have to make those decisions on where those players are. And they're going to have to do that as a team. And that's where the communication comes in and the building the mentality of understanding the movements, understanding how we guard, knowing what my brother behind me is doing in the right spot. And so they kind of play out. And then I also, another great tool, I think, is guys that are sub guys. Let's say I always like to play anywhere from 8 to 10 guys. Those guys that are not not on the floor at that particular time, they're going to help talk and coach those guys in those positions. And I'm always teaching positions. So when I'm going into this, I want all my guys, let's say that are multi-spot guys, to know every spot on that floor where they could play. And two reasons for that. One is if I want to put them in that spot, I don't have to worry about them knowing what to do. Second is the more multiple they are, the more they're going to understand where people are supposed to be. So that communication, again, is back in play. It's kind of like, special forces training. You always got a team leader, and then everybody kind of plays off that, but they communicate. It's 5 guys out there communicating, and that's what I want to establish with my zones. And each one and each week, I want to kind of progress that and improve that.
Yeah, I'm going to take some notes, but what I'd be interested to hear from you is common adjustments that you make with this 3-2 zone when you'd see great shooting, great post play, or an overload situation.
Sure.
You explain those, and I'll type them out.
Okay. Overloads, you're always going to match with everything. So, for example, a lot of teams will put a shooter against the zone and they're going to run them corner to corner. So for us in the 3-2 would be when they overload to put them in the corner to try to get us in a spot to where we've got 2 guys on the side and they've got 3. All we do is it's real simple, is because if they're overloaded, we're just going to match the overload. So post guy or bottom guy to the overload side will always have corner. Wing will always have the mid guy. Top man will always have the top guy. Backside post or backside bottom will always have post. And then all of a sudden, depending on where the other one guy is, usually he's in a skip position. My backside wing will play line of sight from skip position to that spot.
Yeah, what I like is, if you're just doing a 3-2 zone as a hobby or a change of pace defense, defending an overload probably doesn't come very natural. But if it's your thing, if it's something you're working on day in and day out, an overload is probably a cinch to take care of with the amount of time and energy you're able to address to it. Talk a little bit about adjusting for a great shooting team or a great post player.
So with shooters, how we will do a lot of times is, let's say they've got a really knockdown guy. I mean, it can flat out stroke it. Whatever side he comes on and aligns initially in the possession, that wing on that side will match with him. Almost man-to-man type principle. So a lot of times, all of a sudden, we've taken the wing and we're matched with that shooter. Well, now the coach is looking and they're saying, oh, they're boxing one or they're whatever another, which is great. We always love to hear that. My guys used to always get tickled hearing that. They kind of laugh because they felt like, hey, we're camouflaging exactly what we're doing very well. So they send the shooter through. What we would do is go with the shooter just to midline, and we're going to bump him off, and then we're going to pick him back up on that other side with either the bottom guy or the wing, just kind of depends on the alignment. And they're going to match with him on the other side. So wherever that really good shooter is, we're going to be matched with him, whatever side that is. And we're calling match, match, match. And so everybody knows when he changes sides of the floor, that match is going to happen. We would love the match to always be the wing, because generally our wing is going to be a little more athletic, right? Longer. But sometimes it ends up being a bottom guy. It really depends on how the alignment happens and how are they overloading. Are they overloading with 3 guys on the perimeter and a post guy? If they do that, then you're going to have to use one of the bottom guys to guard the corner. If they're keeping 3 on a side and then they've got 2 skip guys, then it's a little different scenario in the sense of you're going to take backside wing now that's going to play the top skip, and you're going to take backside bottom that's going to be able to align with playing the bottom guy there in a sense, if there was one, but since they're not having a post in that spot, they've opened it up. We can just kind of match out, and everybody's understanding and pointing and talking, hey, got my guy in my area. So it's all about really personnel. And so going into a game week, for example, we're going to go through personnel really heavy on who's the guys that we play this way, who's the guy that we play this way, who's a guy that's a match guy, who's a guy that we call, that we have a terminology to say we're going to waste. That means that we're not going to guard hard on the ball because he's a ball handler, he's a water bug, right? He's a penetrator. We're going to let him dribble to death out there, but he can't make a shot. So we're going to come back and really protect that middle. So we got a lot of terminologies. We do a lot of film preparation, a lot of film work, and really kind of go in. And if it's going into someone that we've seen them run let's say it's somebody that's in our league that we've played before. We've seen some different offensive sets that they've ran that maybe just gave us some trouble. We will highlight those. We will go through those in a film session. We will go through those in a practice. We'll figure out exactly how do we want to guard that scenario.
Yeah, I love this. So interesting. I'd like to, I think you're certified as the zone guru. You've talked about some stuff here that I wouldn't even have thought of in coming up with this segment here. But I do want to move on and cover a little bit more of your coaching career, and the transition that I'd like to make is into some of these state tournament appearances. You took different teams to this Tennessee State tournament, 7 different teams, 3 different schools. Is that correct, Coach?
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about how they got there and maybe some of the personality of those teams to make those runs, Coach.
Well, my first 2 teams at Wilson Central were very athletic. They were very close as a unit off the floor. They established ability to really guard you. I mean, like at a high level athletically, as well as cerebrally on the floor. They was a group of guys that I took some guys that came in from middle school that were not your, super talented guys. I had my best big guy got cut in middle school. He ended up being 6'7", going to Auburn Montgomery and being a stud down there. Block shots, rebounding, had a motor like you've never seen, named Nathan Thomas. Had an outstanding point guard, Corey Romanek, that just was big, physical, but just really crafty is like I like to call him. Alex Perry, another guy, could really shoot it. Again, a great athlete. Melvin Williams, a guy that was exceptional athletic talent, went on and played safety at North Carolina Tar Heels. Just tell you how athletic he was. Those guys kind of were, the athletic cogs. And then you had 2 guys that really shot the ball well, Matt Biddle and Jeremy Lund. Lund went on to play college basketball, high motor, high IQ. Matt Biddle, another guy, again, that just tough, just gave his body, do whatever it took to win, very smart on the floor, and again, another good shooter. Jordan Calhoun was a guy that started some early, ended up being more kind of off the bench, but played a ton of minutes. I think he had 61 charges one season. If that tells you anything. Was about 6'5". Great rebounder.
Most I ever had from a player was probably 35. So
yeah, I mean, it was crazy number of how he would come in. I mean, it got where he'd come in. I mean, the benches are yelling, he's going to take a charge. He's going to take a charge, that kind of thing. And it would change the way guys would play because they just thought that, even if he wasn't even involved in the play, they thought, oh, God, he's going to slide over here, And then I had another guy that came off the bench with that first bunch, Jimmy Majors, exceptional athlete, just real raw, but could really make outstanding plays just off of just pure just athleticism. He just had a knack for making some spots. So we had some really good teams that first year. And then the next year we added 2 brothers from North Carolina, C.J. Carter, which still plays professionally. He played some in the G League, about 6'3", about 210. It looks like he would be playing outside linebacker in the NFL and can jump out of the gym. And Jonathan Carter, his brother, about 6'4", long, athletic. We added them to the mix. So we had 2 back-to-back teams there. It was exceptional talent and great players. And they had a toughness and ability to play together, which was exceptional. We was only the second at that particular time, second team ever in Wilson County history ever make the Final Four. And the other one was one of the teams that I was assistant for Randall Hutto at Lebanon. We had been. So great unit there. Then when you fast forward to 2012 and 2014 teams, they were a little more on the intellectual side. Those guys had played together. We had started an AAU program, the Tennessee Wildcats, and they had played together since they were about 8 years old. And so they knew our defense as good as guys that had been playing at the high school level in it because they played it so long. And was exceptional players. I was blessed to have my son running point guard with that team. Jonathan Roshert was a great passer. You had Connor Brandon, knockdown shooter, small but just crazy tough, just super shooter. His brother Casey Brandon, just one of those guys who was intangible on the floor, great defender, knew where to get the ball and where it needed to go. Had D. Odeham, that was the second all-time leading scorer there in program history. Went on and played at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, D1. Exceptional athlete, really smooth, great shooter in college is what's crazy. Became an outstanding three-point shooter at UTC. Kind of was his thing. And for us, he was kind of more of a slasher. You had Jacob Williams, which is the all-time leading scorer there. Went on and played at Trevecca as the all-time leading three-point shooter at Trevecca, D2 program in Nashville. Strong body, great mid-range game, exceptional shooter. And then you had a guy, Malcolm St. Louis, that was really long and athletic, went to King College, that was a great post presence for us there. You had Ben Palmer, another about 6'3" athlete, was long and got after you. And just a hard defender. Preston Reed, about 6'6", went to play Tennessee Tech football. Again, gave you a toughness, that rawness in there that kind of helped build on the program. And so we played a lot of guys. Another guy that was about 6'2", 6'3", Matthew Hall, was great at the top of our zone trap. Not an exceptional athlete, but just knew how to anticipate and knew what he could do. And you could get him the ball in the post, and he could score. Very reliable. He was a cornerstone with our defense for sure. So we just had a lot of different kind of styles. It was kind of weird, the teams, how different they were and how they got there. Just blessed again with some great guys that bought into what we wanted to do. They were very coachable, had great parents that were supportive. We put a lot of time in. They let us coach their kids. Always one of my sayings with the guys that play for me is, I'm going to coach you crazy hard. I'm going to love you just as hard. And we're going to put both those together, and we're going to put it on the floor. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of success. And we were blessed to have that there at Wilson Central.
Yeah, the state tournament appearances can be a measuring stick for coaches. But, from listening to you talk, it's very clear that, each of these teams is their own individual story. Real quick, is there any team that comes to mind as a team that might have overachieved and squeezed kind of every ounce of talent that they had? And also, of your state teams, which was probably your most fun to coach?
Well, there's no doubt the team that probably excelled past where we thought we would be my last team at Brentwood in 2024. You're taking a team that we had an exceptional player, one of the best players I've ever coached, Daniel Cochran. He's been a 2-year starter at the University of Chicago, D3. They just made the national tournament and went to the Final 8 this past year. Been a starter, double-figure scorer, and almost double-figure rebounder for them. about 6'7", really could shoot it, great skill. We had point guard Jacob Purefoy that was an outstanding golfer, won state championship in golf. That was just a heady guy, small but tough. Daniel's brother, Davis, was a freshman that ended up getting into the starting lineup there at the very end run. He's now 6'10" and has about 25 D1 offers. Just over the last couple of weeks, he's gotten offers, I think, from Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kansas State. I mean, exceptionally 6'10", which again, back then, I wish he'd been 6'10". He was about 6'5" then. But he came on and really made a big push. We had Daniel Lapade, really good athlete, good defender, not a great scorer, but he knew what he could do. That now is a manager for Belmont University. He's done a great job there, helping them with their program. You had guys that really were role guys all the way, but just kind of understood what to do. You had a guy that Hudson McKnight that was that great hands guy that we talked about, breaking on the ball, understood the game. That's just led Brentwood to another state tournament this past year. Was a guy that brought a great mentality. He had that hooper, that intellectual type of deal. You had Jackson McCutcheon, was a really good shooter that we brought off the bench. That again is going to Freed Hardeman to play NAI. Just won the NAI National Championship. So you had some guys that had some potential, but was really young with that team. And so the potential we thought would be on down the road. But Daniel Cochran was the guy, if you really get down to it, he's the guy that put us on his back and got us there. We went from finishing 6th during the year in our conference, which our conference, you got to understand, had 8 teams that was outstanding that you could compare them to other places. Our league was exceptional, but he just kind of put us on his back and carried us and got us to the final 8. It's kind of a Cinderella story. We had to go into Hillsborough in the sub-state, which has been ranked in the top 5 all year, which in fact the next year in 25 won the state championship. If that tells you anything, they had the same guys back. We go to Hillsborough and have to beat them at Hillsborough in Nashville. And, a lot of people call it one of the biggest upsets in high school basketball history, kind of the Hoosiers mentality. But our guys played exceptional defense and just it was an incredible moment to get to that spot. But our guys really believed that Toughness showed its head when we needed it the most and got us there. So they would definitely be the team that kind of overextended. Probably all the teams were fun. All of them have their unique deal. The 04-05 team was exceptional just for the athleticism, some of the things we could do from an offensive perspective, throwing dunks. We opened up the game a lot of times. If a team aligned a certain way, we would tip it and then throw a lob from half court for a dunk, which was, people would go nuts, set a backside screen on that guy running out. And so that was super fun to have that kind of deal with them. So that 03-04 and 04-05 both could do that. And then the 2012 and the 14 teams were really cool because I had seen them grow as young men and had them and coached them myself a lot when they were kids. So I'd had them in a special relationship, and also having my son on those teams was a special bonding scenario that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do. Even though I probably was too tough on him at times, we would knock heads like crazy. But that was a blessing to have that. And then what was a cool thing, I just kind of going back to the Brentwood team, is my son was an assistant coach with me on that 2024 team at Brentwood. So that was cool. So they're all a little different, but all super, super cool.
Yeah, just to tie a bow on this state tournament appearance segment. For coaches that have never experienced it, what's so special about the glass house?
Well, when you're getting there, you're in Tennessee. There's only 8 teams left. So, I mean, you think out of our classification, like 200 schools, there's 8 left, and you're representing the best of the best in the state of Tennessee. It's played at Middle Tennessee State University, which their arena is all glass around it. That's why everybody always kind of nicknamed it the Glass House. So you're in the elite level of teams, and I know a lot of great coaches that getting the Glass House means everything, and getting there once is a huge accomplishment a lot of times in people's career. And again, I feel just totally blessed just having the opportunity of being able to go 7 times. Again, I give a lot of credit to my staff and my kids and my coaches and my parents to helping make that happen. My mentors for being there and support me and being in that situation.
That's really where I wanted to go to next, Coach, because you make these state tournament appearances, and you don't do that alone. You've mentioned Hester Gibbs several times on the show, but I really wanted to talk about just the opportunity that you had in associating with a lot of other coaches that were very influential to you. Talk to me a little bit about some of the coaches that brought you along in your coaching career.
Well, you got Coach Gibbs there. That picture you're showing there, and he's in the blue hat, was him coming out to watch my team play at Lebanon High School when I was coaching Brentwood High. The thing that I think that my mentors, even my kids and my coaches, we've all supported each other regardless of where we are. You go to our regular seasons at Oakland, at Brentwood, my Wilson Central kids come, my Oakland kids come. I mean, we'll have one of the sub-state games when I was at Oakland. I think we had 21 of my past players there watching us play in the sub-state, and none of those kids were from Oakland. And they all came from Wilson Central, which was just super cool. It was like they're supporting us, right? It started again with Randy Venata and Campbell Brandon just being there, and that backbone of me being a young kid wanting to be a basketball player, listening to them talk, watching them watch film. Then getting to high school and playing under a guy like Coach Gibbs, and I can't say it enough. This past week has been pretty rough. On Father's Day, we lost Coach Gibbs at 88 years of age, and he's a guy that up until this day would show up. I got inducted in the Wilson Central Hall of Fame in 2025, and Coach was on a cane and showed up and stayed the whole time. I mean, you could tell he didn't feel like being there, but he supported that. He came. He was a blessing, and going through and talking to a lot of guys this week, he meant a lot to so many people, and to me, he was huge in the sense of the toughness and just kind of giving me that extra gear to pull from. I mentioned Lewis Connor, Columbia State. He's the guy that really taught me how to guard, and really kind of gave me this, I don't know, a different kind of love as a coach. And he was at my Hall of Fame deal and came, and he was the guy that helped get me to TSU as a player. And then we had, you got the picture there where it was the big team that says Belmont on it there. So to the left there, the older gentleman is Ed Martin. He's a legendary coach at Tennessee State that went on and coached at Vanderbilt for Sam Newton. And he held a big man's camp. In those pictures there, you've got like Mark Lang, Mark West, Perry Lang. You've got so many NBA guys and college guys coming in for this big man's camp. So he helped he kind of mentored me, being a part of that. And Truck Robinson, a Hall of Famer from TSU, longtime NBA guy, scored over 10,000 points and 10,000 rebounds in his career in the NBA, was part of that. He's also a guy there, a guy to definitely mention. And then Ron Abernathy, the gentleman there in the jacket I'm in a picture with, again, just passed away this past week. Just nuts. He coached me at TSU. He had a great charismatic personality. He was a guy who helped to set up the teams at LSU that went to Final Four and the Final Eight. He recruited Shaquille O'Neal and Chris Jackson to LSU. So he shows you the personality and the strength he had from a recruiting standpoint. But we stayed in contact. He went back into high school coaching after TSU. We just talked back in April. He had just retired from coaching and just kind of what he was going to do. So those guys played a big part. And then just the love of basketball itself, again, goes back to Randy Venata, growing up in his household and being a guy that got cut in middle school. I was told I'd never be a basketball player. Randy told me, he said, "Hey, you want to be a basketball player? It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of things." And I said, I want to do it. And I did it and got cut again. But then two guys got kicked off and I got put back on. So as an eighth grader, I scored 1 point in middle school. And then was kind of told, you might want to maybe look at doing something else. I was kind of small. I wasn't big. Really got in the weight room. Really, all of a sudden, genetics kind of kicked in. I grew and then went on to be a Division I signee there at Lebanon High School. So he's definitely a prominent part. And then Campbell Brandon, I mentioned before earlier, the girls coach, was a great guy on the sidelines that would always kind of tell me if I'm doing good or I'm doing bad as a coach, because his son, Bud, was the girls coach at Wilson Central. And so he was an assistant coach with Bud there. So he would see a lot of my games. And then the Brandon boys that I mentioned, Connor, Clark, and Casey, were his grandsons. And so having the opportunity to watch them play for me, I thought was probably really cool for him. And he's since passed away as well. But he was always there as a support means after games and just kind of in practice and that kind of thing.
Yeah, being from Ohio, I wasn't familiar with Coach Hester Gibbs until I had the great Steve Thompson on the show. I really enjoyed sharing Coach Thompson's story, but he talked a little bit about the influence of Coach Gibbs. What I'm interested to hear from you to wrap this mentors section of our conversation is the idea of, when did you kind of realize you're no longer a student, you are the mentor now in your coaching career? What kind of point in your coaching career did you kind of have that realization?
Well, when I got out of TSU, I went to work Columbia State as an assistant. And I'm still very close to their age. And Coach Connor would always tell me, say, just remember, you can be boys, but you got, at the end of the day, they've got to be able to, they got to be able to respect you as a coach and what you're telling them. So that was great advice. And then when I went to Lebanon High School as a young guy, Coach Hutto did a great job of, always telling me, he said, look, parents are going to love their kids and going to expect them to play. And that's just being a parent. And, have great respect with them and keep them in the fold, but understand where you stand here. And you got to be able to coach these guys hard. You got to love them hard. And I thought he did a great job of doing that. And so early on, I was blessed to have guys that really kind of told me about, hey, you got to be able to keep it here. You got to really push them here. You got to be able to bring them back up. Still got to be able to push the buttons, but still be a guy that they want to play for. And they want to run through that wall for you. And I feel like that's something I really want to develop as it goes. And even now, texting with my guys that's played for me from junior college assistant in '92 to current guys at Brentwood, having that camaraderie, just see what they're doing. How's life? How's the kids? It's crazy. Some of them's got guys that are playing in high school now. how's your family? That's generally what we're talking about. We don't talk about basketball much. It's more about just how's life, how are things, and we're family for life, and and I love you, and great to hear from you, and we really keep that bond going, and I feel like that's, if I look at my coaching career, wins and losses, sure, they're great. State tournaments are great, but at the end of the day, it's about the relationships and what you've built, the family you've built, and uh, the guys that not only you've impacted their lives, but they've impacted you. I always tell my guys, you guys impacted me as much as I did you all day, and probably more. And so I'm really blessed to have that opportunity to be called coach by so many guys, and blessed to have them guys in my life.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about your coaching career is that you prove that your blueprint could work in different environments. You've had success at three very different schools. Why do you think some coaches can have success in one place but struggle in different environments? And how did you evade that fate by being able to build programs at very different types of schools?
I think that's a great question. I'm sure a little bit of luck came into play, but I really think at the end of the day, I think it's about, for one, you got to have a great staff. I mentioned Coach Crane before, David Jennings, Zach Martin, as guys that were outstanding coaches for me. Justin Wade, a young guy that's coaching at Lipscomb High School now, did a great job for us. I think your staff has got to be on board. I think you got to have everybody with the same mindset, for one. I think you got to have a great administration, which I've been blessed to have as well. And you got to do a good job of picking the jobs. A good friend of mine, an outstanding coach, Barry Workman, calls it kidney stone jobs. And I never had heard that till I interviewed him a couple months back. And those are jobs that are going to give you nothing but pain. You're really never going to get anywhere. And you've seen it. I think everybody sees it. There's jobs that have potential to grow, and there's jobs that just the potential is limited where you can be. And I think I did a great job in the sense of preparing for those jobs. And again, going back to my mentors, I did a great job of listening. Randy Venata and Hester Gibbs and Campbell Brannon. In those years, I was assistant at Lebanon for 8 years, had several opportunities to go some places a head job. But, looking at them and listening to other feedback from other guys, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And looking back, it was a blessing I didn't take the jobs. I think a lot of young coaches now get caught up in wanting to be a head coach so much. I think I was blessed to have the opportunity to work under a really great mentor in Randall Hutto that could really teach me the ropes and learn a lot of things. Even though I felt like I knew a lot of things, but there's so much about juggling personalities and your interaction with just whether it's faculty, administration, parents. And so I felt like being patient was big. Again, really listening to my mentors. So I think taking good jobs, don't be in a hurry, find places that you fit in well. And I think your administration is, you got to have 100% confidence in them. And I was blessed to work for some really good administrators. And I felt like that really made a huge impact as well.
Yeah, kidney stone jobs. I haven't heard that phrase before. I call them graveyard coaching jobs. And
Yeah.
I'll post about graveyard coaching jobs, and people will comment and say, if the right coach got in there, they could turn things around. And my response is, well, then it's not a graveyard job if all it's missing is the person. The graveyard jobs I'm talking about are, you can work as hard as you want and you just really can't make progress. And the thing with those graveyard coaching jobs is the ceiling is just so low, where it's like, even if you coach the best you can and have the best year, it's still not going to be something you throw on a resume and you're going to take to a job interview and people are going to be impressed by it. You don't go into an interview and the next, the interview committee be impressed by your 8 wins, even though an average coach might have only got 2 or 3 out of your circumstances. But Coach, I'm real interested here is, we've got this Wilson Central, we've got Oakland, we've got Brentwood. I'm interested in a compare and contrast. What did these programs need? What did Wilson Central need? What did Oakland already have? What did Brentwood require? And, my thought here is when we're thinking about program building, you've got a blueprint that you're going to run, and it's adaptable, it's adjustable. It's not going to be the same exact thing at every school. But maybe specifically compare and contrast these stops you made and maybe the adjustments you had to make tailored to the specific communities to really pull out of the community what you need to make it a winner.
I think Wilson Central was tough in the sense everything was starting from scratch. But it was also a blessing in that there was no prior history, there was no prior mentality there, right? I get to build my culture and my team from the ground up, which I think a lot of people love the idea of. I've had so many guys that ended up brand new schools open, and they would call me and say, okay, give me some advice on starting a new program. And all of them are going to be very different, obviously. Me being from Wilson County was an advantage a little bit, kind of starting Wilson Central and then just kind of diving in. And I think there was a lot of hungry kids there to have success. We'd had success at Lebanon and Mount Juliet had good teams, but they never could get to that glass house. Tim Bell had taken a team to the sub-state there. I know right there in the mid-90s, late 90s. And so that was give and take. I got to put my own kind of stamp on it, which I think, again, overall is a better, easier deal. Go to Oakland, you got a program that's had a ton of tradition, but had went through 6 years of, I'm not going to say mediocrity, but just hadn't gotten back to that level. They made the top 32 several times, was just right on the cusp, but just couldn't get over the hump a little bit. Came in there, felt like a lot of the exceptional athletes wasn't playing basketball. So we had to go out and kind of put on a recruiting spiel in a sense and try to get guys back into play. I think they had played kind of slower, and we told guys, hey, look, we're going to trap, we're going to press, we're going to get up and down the floor, we're going to really kind of make this happen by transition. So we got guys that had quit to get back in, and then, the rest was history in that sense. You go to Brentwood, again, you're going to a program that's had a ton of success in the last 10 years, 5 state tournaments. But coming in at a time too when talent level was kind of down a little bit, probably as far as where it was in those state tournament runs. So we had to really build on an intellectual side and really push playing a certain way and really kind of controlling tempo, where before we're really trying to transition. My first year, we really could transition out there and really could kind of play very similar. We had some guys, Davis White, Jake Brock, that were seniors that were really good basketball players. We had Daniel Cochran, who was just sophomore, was just starting to kind of come into his own. And so, but then the next year we lose those 2 guys and Brady Huss, the seniors, and all of a sudden we're kind of back to a slower pace. So that was a different thing. So we as coaches had to do a good job of really kind of applying what we wanted to do without a wholesale change, but yet getting them to buy into it. And then you take now, you look, Coach Crane this past year, they played really fast, shot the ball a lot. Defensively, we're still very good, but a little less defensive push, a little more offensive push, because you had guys that could really shoot the basketball and could really score it. So I think good coaches do a good job of understanding their players and putting them in the right places to be successful. And do we always do that? No. we're always learning. I think for me, now 34 years out, uh, total, since I'm still learning things. I still listen to guys and hear stories, or I'll go for um, an install with a team here locally, and I'll watch a guy run a drill, and I'm like, man, I really like that drill. That's a great idea. Or I haven't seen that before, or see ways that coaches prepare, or how coaches practice. Is always fun seeing that. Um, and the other thing that's been kind of cool with the zone 615 deal is I've worked with a lot of girls coaches, which I've been always with the boys side. So that was kind of cool watching the difference. Coaching girls and coaching boys was really neat. Corey Barrett at Lebanon High School does an outstanding job with their programming, going in and watching him, how hard he coached those girls and how they reacted was really cool. So I think you're always morphing and changing and adjusting as a coach. I think to be good.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about kind of breaking down these different situations that you had to deal with and how you ended up figuring it out. And I'm always impressed by the coaches that are, 25 years at one school, 30 years at one school, 40, they become an institution at one place. But my dad, who coached basketball when he was very young in the 70s, he coached for, I think, 7 or 8 years. His family started growing, so he got out of coaching and got into business. And he was talking about his personal life where at one point he had kind of figured out that you could just kind of parachute him into any city and he would be able to make a living based off the skills that he had built. And I'm always fascinated by the coaches that can do that same thing, where you just kind of drop them into any situation and they can make the best of it. And that's not an encouragement for coaches to be bold and audacious and take those kidney stone jobs and those graveyard jobs with some overconfidence. But I think there is something to be said about being able to work a different set of conditions instead of, running that same playbook for a long period of time. But coach, with all the schools that we've talked about, all the different players, all these different years, I kind of want to finish with, what this coaching really meant to you. And is there a certain accomplishment that you're most proud of? It could be a coach of the year. It could be an off the court thing. It could be a championship. Is there anything that really stands out to you as the accomplishment you're most proud of?
Well, I think as far as just overall, what I'm most proud of is my relationship with my kids that's played for me, my coaches. You mentioned Steve Thompson, an example, good friend of mine, a guy that, again, is, been, like you said, dropping in all these different places, whether it's, Memphis or Chattanooga or Mississippi, that can find a way to be successful. I think those relationships and them showing up, like, for example, my retirement party, we probably had 100 people there, players from Lebanon through Brentwood, coaches from all over the state, had kids that played for me that were living in other states that flew in just to be there. Coaches as well. That definitely proud of those type of relationships and things. On the floor, as far as any kind of things, obviously that being named BCAT Coach of the Year, our basketball association here in Tennessee, 2 different times is I'm extremely proud of. Probably, being inducted into the Wilson Central Hall of Fame is right there at the top, because you come into a school as a young guy. I guess I was 27, 28 years old, starting a program from scratch. You think you know everything, but you find out real quick that you don't. But then you rely on those mentors to really kind of bring you back to earth and really help you dictate things in your staff. That has to be really, really high up there as well. just been blessed to be a part of a lot of great organizations like BCAT, TACA, um, and again, great schools, Lebanon High School, Wilson Central, Oakland, and Brentwood. That's had staff and administrators and just the support system in the communities have always been amazing to me. So I'm proud of those relationships as well. But probably at the end of the day, on paper, I love the idea of having 7-team state tournament with taking 3 different schools and playing at the highest level in Tennessee. Is a huge accomplishment for me, and I love being able to be tied to those guys. If you look at those guys that's done it before, they're all Hall of Famers in multiple places. So blessed to be in that talk with them, and definitely I'm the least of the group for sure. But that's probably I've been blessed with a great career, a career that's given me so many great relationships. And so that's my relationship building and tied to people is definitely the biggest.
Yeah, I started this basketball legacy project because I really wanted to tap into the wisdom and the experience of the coaches that have done it, that have served communities and achieved at a high level. And we always wrap these legacy shows with the same question, which is we've got younger coaches that are starting out their coaching career. What advice would you have for that young coach that's just starting out, tapping into the experiences that you've had in a long, successful coaching career?
Well, I think find you some mentors, and when I say that, people that are not just going to tell you what you want to hear, guys that are going to, or girls that's going to hold you accountable for things. It's going to be people that you can talk to about great situations and bad situations. Be a listener. Be a person that picks up great ideas. Go see some practices of people that you look up to or you like their programs. Be a sponge. Take in everything that you can. Don't be stubborn as a coach in the sense of, hey, I'm going to play this way and that's it. Always adjust to your talent. A college guy can play a certain way. Duke can play a certain way. They're going to get a certain type of kid. He gets to recruit everybody that he wants for what he wants it to do, right? High school programs in particular, and middle school, you're not going to have that opportunity a lot. So learn to be able to adjust. Learn to be that chameleon that you can take on a lot of different roles. Be the first to the gym every day. Be the last to leave every day. Always expect the same out of your players as you would expect out of yourself, and put yourself in that position that nobody's going to outwork you. Don't be that guy that's too good to sweep the floor or do the laundry or do the things that a lot of times people don't want to do. I think a lot of young guys want to coach. They want the X and O's and be on the floor. Coaching, especially at the high school level, there is a lot more to it than on the floor. You're going to spend more time doing things off the floor than you are on the floor. So I think you're going to have a patience ability to be able to do that. And going back to the kidney stone jobs, I think you got to be very smart in the jobs you take. You got to do your research. Don't take a job to just say you're a head coach and for the write up in the paper that you're the new head coach. Because if you take the bad job, you're not going to get a lot more of those opportunities. And you want to keep progressing. It's like in my career, when I got to Wilson Central, I thought I would retire at Wilson Central. And I'd always said it's kind of nuts, but I'd always said there was 2 jobs that I might look at leaving Wilson Central for, and that was Oakland and Brentwood. That's the honest truth. And Oakland comes calling, and I go there, and then Brentwood gave me an opportunity, and I go there, and I thought, hey, I've done the full tilt, man. I went to the 3 places I thought would be my dream jobs, and all 3 were extremely beneficial to me from a coaching perspective, and was just such a blessing in my life, and still are today, all 3 schools.
Yeah, Coach. Today we've talked about building programs from scratch. We've talked about creating physical and mental toughness in your teams. We've installed a championship level defense and fast draw. We talked about the state tournament experiences, the mentors, adapting your program to different communities. But the through line through all of it was the relationships and the standards that you kept. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom, your passion. Everyone watching, make sure to follow Coach Bond at Zone Hoops 615 for more outstanding content and zone defense and program building. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the Basketball Legacy Project today.
Hey, appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for having me again. It's always amazing when you can talk basketball with people, and love what you're doing with the show. And thanks again for having me on.
Awesome, man. Hey, let's stay in touch. We're going to sign it off there.
See you, brother.
See you, Coach.